settle in and let your mind drift. Tonight, we journey back in time to a world lit by firelight and mystery. We are headed for the edge of the woods, where a small cottage sits under the stars. Inside, something is brewing. Not in a storybook, but in history. We are here to ask a simple question. What was really inside a witch's cauldron? The image is familiar to us all. A great black pot bubbles with a strange green liquid. The air is thick with steam and secrets. Into this brew, a cloaked figure drops all manner of fantastic things. A pinch of this, a dash of that. We have all heard the rhymes and the recipes from old tales. Eye of newt and toe of frog, wool of bat and tongue of dog. But these were not literal ingredients. They were folk names and clever codes. They disguised the real plants used by healers and herbalists. In the quiet world of folk medicine, eye of newt was the common name for a mustard seed. Toe of frog was a leafy, flowering plant we now call a buttercup. These were part of a vast knowledge of the natural world. A knowledge of plants that could heal and plants that could harm. This knowledge was often held by people known as cunning folk or wise women. They were the village healers. They understood the earth and its hidden powers. And their most legendary creation was not a drink, but an ointment. In old texts, it was sometimes called the unguentum sabati, or more simply, the flying ointment. Accounts from periods like the Spanish Inquisition and in treatises written about witchcraft mention these ointments. They described salves and balms that could induce powerful visions. They could make a person believe they had traveled to distant magical places, all while never leaving their small, quiet room. So this brings us to our real question. What plants were so powerful they could make someone believe they had flown? The answer is not in magic, but in a very specific corner of the botanical world. The most potent recipes all centered around a powerful trio of plants. A strange and dangerous family known as the Solanaceae, or the nightshades. The first of these was Atropa belladonna. Its name means beautiful lady. During the Renaissance in Italy, women used drops from the plant to dilate their pupils. This was thought to make them look more alluring and seductive. But the plant itself is deeply toxic, from its pale flowers to its shiny black berries. The second member of this trinity is Hyacinthus niger, known to us as henbane. It is not a beautiful plant. Its leaves are covered in sticky hairs, and it has a foul, unpleasant smell. Its flowers are a sickly yellow, with dark purple veins. For centuries, henbane was associated with poison, madness, and dark magic. Its reputation was well earned. And finally, it was the most famous of them all, Mandragora officinarum, the mandrake. The legend of the mandrake was even more famous than the plant itself. Its thick, fleshy root often splits, taking on a strangely human-like shape. Ancient folklore claimed that when the mandrake was pulled from the earth, it let out a scream so terrible it was instantly fatal to anyone who heard it. These three plants, belladonna, henbane, and mandrake, were the dark heart of the flying ointment. But what exactly made them so powerful? The answer lies in their chemistry. It is a chemistry of chaos. All three of these nightshade plants are rich in a specific class of chemicals. They are called tropane alkaloids. You may have heard their names before. Atropine, scopolamine, and hyoscyamine. These are not gentle compounds. They have a profound and dramatic effect on the human body and mind. To put it simply, these chemicals are anticholinergic. This means they work by blocking a vital neurotransmitter in our brains called acetylcholine. Acetylcholine is like a master key. It helps control countless functions in our nervous system. It regulates everything from our heartbeat, to our muscles, to our memory. When the tropane alkaloids enter the bloodstream, they find the locks that acetylcholine would normally fit into, and they jam them. The physical effects begin almost immediately. The heart starts to race. The mouth becomes incredibly dry. The pupils dilate so much that vision becomes blurry and indistinct. A person might feel dizzy and lose their coordination. But the most powerful effects are not on the body. They are on the mind. Blocking acetylcholine plunges the brain into a state of profound delirium. It causes deep confusion and a total inability to tell fantasy from reality. It erases short-term memory, making it hard to form a coherent thought. And most importantly, it produces incredibly vivid, dream-like hallucinations. These are not just visual tricks. They are multi-sensory experiences that feel completely real to the person having them. Perhaps the most crucial effect of these alkaloids, especially scopolamine, is a powerful feeling of dissociation. This is the sensation of leaving one's own body, a feeling of floating or flying, as if the mind has become untethered from its physical form. This was the chemical key, the magic that made flight possible. But it still doesn't answer one final, practical question. How was it used? This brings us to the great secret of the flying ointment. The reason it was an ointment, and not a potion to be drunk. Consuming these plants directly is incredibly dangerous. The toxic dose is very close to the lethal dose. Drinking a brew of henbane or belladonna would often lead to a violent death. It would also cause terrible stomach pain, vomiting, and other deeply unpleasant effects. The cunning folk who made these recipes were skilled herbalists. They knew a better and slightly safer way. They would grind the dried plants into a fine powder. Then, they would mix this powder into a base of animal fat, like lard or tallow. The fat served two purposes. First, it was an excellent medium for extracting the tropane alkaloids from the plant matter. And second, it allowed the chemicals to be absorbed through the skin. This is called transdermal absorption. For the fastest and most powerful effect, the ointment had to be applied to areas of the body where the skin is thin and where blood vessels are close to the surface. This meant applying it to the mucous membranes. Historical accounts suggest it was rubbed into the armpits, the soft skin of the neck, and even more intimate areas. This allowed the atropine and scopolamine to bypass the digestive system and enter the bloodstream directly. Now imagine the experience. The ointment is applied in the quiet of a small, dark cottage. Soon, the user's heart begins to pound in their chest. Their vision blurs. A feeling of dizziness and disorientation takes over. Then, the powerful hallucinations begin, fueled by scopolamine. And at the same time, they feel a profound sense of dissociation, a true physical sensation of their consciousness lifting away from their body. The pounding heart, the blurred vision, and the mental feeling of floating all combine. They create a single, overwhelming, and utterly convincing hallucination. The hallucination of soaring through the night sky. And what about the famous broomstick? It may have simply been a tool, an applicator used to smear the ointment onto the body. This tool, combined with the vivid delirium, created the iconic and enduring image. The image of a witch riding a broomstick through the moonlight. And so, the mystery of the flying witch is not one of magic, but of pharmacology. Now that we understand the science, let us step away from the laboratory. Let us travel back into the cool, quiet dark of the medieval night, to the places where these strange and powerful plants were gathered. Come, let us walk together into that quiet night. The moon is a silver coin, cast high into a sea of stars. It bathes the world in a soft, ethereal light. We leave the cottage behind and step into a small, walled garden. This is a place of whispers, a garden of twilight. The air is cool and smells of damp earth and living things. The sounds of the day have faded, replaced by the gentle hum of the night. Here, in the silvery gloom, the plants look different. Their shapes are softer, their secrets closer to the surface. Let your eyes adjust. See there, against the stone wall, a tall and branching plant. This is belladonna. Its flowers are pale, bell-shaped things, almost glowing in the low light. And nestled among the leaves are its berries. They are round and black and impossibly glossy. They shine like drops of polished jet, or like the dark, watchful eyes of the night itself. Now, follow the winding path a little further. Here is another plant, lower to the ground. This is henbane. Even in the moonlight, you can see the soft, downy hairs that cover its leaves and stem. If you were to lean closer, a strange, sickly sweet scent would meet you. It is not a pleasant smell. It is the scent of something ancient and unwell. Its funnel-shaped flowers, with their web of dark purple veins, seem to drink in the darkness. But where is the mandrake? You will not see it. Its magic is hidden below the soil. We can only look at the patch of disturbed earth where it is said to grow. We can imagine its strange, twisted root, sleeping in the cool darkness beneath our feet. A root shaped like a little person, waiting in silence. The mystique of the mandrake is not in what you see, but in what you know is there, just out of sight. This garden is not only for danger, it holds gentle spirits too. Look at the pale yellow cups of the evening primrose. They have just opened to greet the moon. Over there, a climbing vine is covered in large, white blossoms. These are moonflowers, which bloom only in the dark, sharing their faint, sweet perfume with the night air. These softer plants live alongside the dangerous ones. They remind us that this world of herbs is one of balance, a world of healing and of peril. And so these plants grew under the sun and the moon, and around them humans wove stories. These were tales of caution and of wonder. The folklore of the root and flower became as potent as the plants themselves. They were ways to understand and to respect their power. The most vivid stories, of course, were told about the mandrake. The legend was known all across the old world. It was said that the mandrake root was a living thing, and to pull it from the earth was to kill it. As it was torn from the ground, it would let out a piercing, unearthly shriek. This scream was so powerful, it would instantly strike dead any human who heard it. So, a clever and cruel ritual was devised. A person would find a mandrake plant. They would carefully loosen the soil around its base. Then they would tie one end of a strong rope to the root and the other end to the collar of a dog. The person would then retreat to a safe distance and plug their ears with wax or cotton. Finally, they would call the dog or throw a piece of meat just out of its reach. The poor animal would lunge for the food, pulling the mandrake from the earth. The root would scream, and the dog would fall dead. The harvester could then walk over and safely collect the prized and now silent root. Belladonna had its own dark mythology. Its scientific name, Atropa, comes from Atropos, one of the three fates in Greek mythology. While her sisters would spin and measure the thread of a person's life, it was Atropos who held the shears. It was she who made the final, unavoidable cut. This connection was no accident. It was a clear warning of the plant's deadly power. And yet, it also held the strange duality of its other name, Belladonna, the beautiful lady. It was a poison that could end the life, and a cosmetic that could enhance beauty. A plant of both death and desire. Henbane's folklore was perhaps the most grim. Its disorienting and stupefying properties linked it to the underworld. It was believed to be a plant that could summon spirits or allow one to speak with the dead. Ancient Greek oracles were said to inhale its smoke to enter a trance and receive visions from the spirit world. It was a plant of ghosts and graveyards. Its effects could make a person stumble and shamble with a vacant look and a complete loss of memory. In a way, it turned the living into something that resembled the dead. This connection between its effect and its folklore is chillingly direct. These stories were more than just entertainment. They were a form of knowledge. They encoded the truth of the plants in the language of myth. The scream of the mandrake was a stark metaphor for its deadly toxicity. The two manes of belladonna taught of its dual nature. The ghostly tales of henbane warned of its power to unmoor the mind from reality. These legends ensured that the knowledge of a plant's power and its danger would be passed down through the generations. But these three were not the only plants in the healer's world. Let us imagine we can step back inside the cottage, away from the wild garden and into the calm of the hearth. Here, hanging from the wooden rafters, are bunches of other dried herbs. This is the cunning woman's cabinet, a collection of gentler plants used for healing, for dreaming, and for protection. Look at this one, with its feathery, silvery green leaves. This is mugwort. Its Latin name is Artemisia vulgaris. For centuries, it has been known as an herb of dreaming. It was believed that a pillow stuffed with mugwort would bring vivid and prophetic dreams. It was also a traveler's friend. A sprig tucked into a shoe was said to prevent fatigue on a long journey, and it was hung over doorways to protect the home from evil spirits. Its scent is clean and sharp, like the wild places where it grows. Beside it hangs a close relative, wormwood. This is Artemisia absinthium. If mugwort is the gentle dreamer, wormwood is its bitter, stern cousin. Its name speaks of its most famous quality, an intense, almost overwhelming bitterness. This bitterness made it a powerful medicine for digestive troubles. It could cleanse the system and restore appetite. Much later in history, its essence would become the soul of a famous emerald green liqueur, absinthe. But here, in this quiet cottage, it is simply a powerful, cleansing healer. Nearby, another bunch of herbs hangs in the dim light. Its flowers are clusters of tiny white or pink blossoms, and its leaves are delicate and feathery. This is yarrow. Its Latin name, Achillea millefolium, is said to come from Achilles, the great Greek hero. The stories say he used it to treat the wounds of his soldiers. For this reason, it was known for centuries as herbal militaris, a military herb for its power to staunch the flow of blood. But like many herbs, it had a mystical side. Its stems were used in divination to try and foresee a future love. And finally, we see a slender plant with small, unassuming lilac flowers. This is vervain. It did not have a dramatic medicinal use like the others. Instead, its power was almost entirely spiritual. In many traditions across Europe, it was considered a holy herb. It was used to cleanse sacred spaces, to protect a person from negative influence, and to bring blessings. It was a plant of peace and consecration, a quiet guardian in the world of potent herbs. This collection, this cabinet of whispers, represents a deep and intimate relationship with the natural world. It is a library of scents, textures, and secrets. A knowledge learned not from books, but from seasons, from watching and gathering, and listening to the stories of those who came before. And now the work begins. Let us watch the slow, careful process of creation. The healer takes a stone mortar and pestle from a low shelf. The mortar is heavy and cool to the touch, worn smooth by years of use. Into its bowl, she places a handful of dried leaves and roots. Then, a gentle, rhythmic sound begins to fill the room. The sound of crushing, a soft, percussive whisper of stone against stone. The herbs break apart, releasing their dusty, fragrant souls into the air. She works slowly, patiently, until the plants have become a fine, dark powder. Now she turns to the hearth. The fire has burned down to glowing orange embers, casting a warm and gentle light. A small iron pot is set over the heat. Into it, she places a scoop of clean, white lard. There is a soft sizzle, a gentle crackle and hiss as the fat begins to melt. It transforms from a solid into a clear, shimmering liquid. The smell of wood smoke from the hearth mingles with the rich scent of the rendering fat. When the liquid is warm, she takes the bowl of powdered herbs. She slowly, carefully, tips the powder into the pot. The moment the herbs touch the warm fat, the air changes. The sharp, earthy scents of the plant's bloom, released by the heat. They swirl and mix with the smoke and the firelight, filling the small room with their complex perfume. With a wooden spoon, she begins to stir, a slow, circling motion. Watch as she stirs the mixture. The dark powder swirls into the clear liquid, turning it a deep, mysterious green. The texture thickens. What was once two separate things, fat and herb, are now becoming one. A smooth, homogeneous unguent. A balm. An ointment. She continues to stir, a meditative and focused act, until she is satisfied that the plants have given all their power to the fat. The final act is one of gentle care. She takes the pot from the fire, its contents warm and fragrant. She carefully pours the liquid into a small, round clay pot. It is dark and glossy, a captured piece of the forest and the fire. The pot is then set aside in a cool, dark place. There, it will slowly set, becoming a firm, smooth salve. The process is complete. The magic and the medicine is now sealed, waiting. Let us rest here for a moment in the quiet of this finished work. Let us contemplate the thin and wavering boundary this small pot represents. It is the boundary between medicine and magic, between a cure and a curse. The same plant that can heal can also harm. The same substance that can ease pain can also shatter the mind. The difference, always, is in the dose, in the knowledge and the intent of the hand that prepares it. In a world without our modern science, these plants were a direct link to the unknown. They were tangible proof of a hidden world, a world of spirits, of visions, and of powers beyond human understanding. The person who knew how to use them, the cunning woman, the healer, the witch. She was a keeper of dangerous knowledge. She walked a fine line between the reverence and the fear of her community. She could be sought for a sleeping draught, for a restless child, or a balm for a painful joint. Or she could be whispered about as someone who could travel the night sky and speak with the dead. This ancient desire to explore the boundaries of our own consciousness has never truly left us. It is a deeply human impulse, the desire to understand the strange and beautiful mystery of our own minds, to touch the edges of our perceived reality, and to wonder what lies beyond. The flying ointment was one path to that boundary, a path woven from folklore, from desperation, from chemistry, and from the deep, dark, and powerful magic of the earth itself. And so, as the fire burns low and the cottage settles into the deep silence of the night, we can leave our journey here. Rest now in the peace of this ancient quiet, and let your own dreams take flight.